Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, MagicBands have been disappearing from shelves. Wishes come true for some extra special superheroes.
A former CEO is honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award. We talk with Haley Clair about her legendary grandmother, Harriett Burns, and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard the DL Weekly podcast. Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding. If this is your first time listening, we hope you'll check out our website at DLWeekly.net. If you have more time to spend, becoming an official weekly tier at DLWeekly.net/support is an especially good value. Thanks for traveling with us today, and we hope you have a happy and memorable listen to this week's episode.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of May 6, 2026. I'm Teresa Urban.
And I'm Alex Stewart.
Well, we would like to thank everyone who supports the show, but this week we would like to give a special shout out to R. Sean M. for becoming a new supporter, and also to Stacy E., Anna W., and Donna L. for your continued support. If you would like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, plus a bunch of other really fun perks, like right now we're actually doing a live stream for some of our supporters, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Now, let's get to the news.
Dateline DL Weekly. Fiction becomes fact as the mysterious subcontinent reveals a legendary podcast. After 2,000 years, two hosts have been unearthed by famed archaeologist Dr. Henry Indiana Jones. Scholarly research laid the groundwork for Jones's discovery. Thus, the jungles of DL Weekly become the destination for listeners worldwide. And what a destination it is! Until next week, this is Eye on Breaking News.
Well, the past couple of weeks, we have been seeing reports that MagicBands were becoming more and more difficult to purchase at the Disneyland Resort, and officials have now confirmed that Disneyland is ending on-property sales of MagicBand Plus. Existing interactive features like the bounty hunters or using them to get into the park, those sorts of things, will remain functional for current owners. However, no new shipments are expected once stock sells out at the few remaining retail locations. This change is exclusive to the Disneyland Resort, as MagicBand Plus will continue to be supported and sold at Walt Disney World and on Disney Cruise Line, and also via the Disney Store online. What was your first thought when you read this?
Not surprised. Not surprised at all. I mean, to me, I see in the ecosystem of the cruise line and Walt Disney World, it makes sense. But Disneyland, it's such a commuter park that you don't have an all-in-one need like this. I mean, what were your thoughts?
I was surprised because it took so long for them to finally install all of it, and they, it was a lot of investment to get, put all the different technology in place for this to be able to be used. So it feels a little strange to me because I'm trying to remember when it first was introduced. It's been less than 5 years.
But the weird thing is, it hasn't really ever been embraced, even by the Walt Disney Company. That Disneyland has kind of been on the fence about it. Sure, you'll get some haptics, you'll get some lights during shows and stuff like that. But realistically, I mean, I've never stayed at a Disneyland hotel. And so I don't know how beneficial it would be. I mean, I'm assuming that they offer them to be able to get into your rooms there, or is that not even a feature?
They don't do that. So that's the other thing.
Goofy.
Is they never rolled... No, I'm Donald. No, they never. They never really rolled out all of the features that they had in place at Walt Disney World. That was the other kind of interesting thing, was that they were at Disneyland, but not in their full capacity of what they could be doing. So it's almost like they went into it not really super duper sure of themselves that it was gonna be a lasting thing. So yeah, I don't know. I was a little surprised too, because with the 70th anniversary, they added some extra like interactive features that were MagicBand specific. So I'm like, ooh, this is good. Okay, we're like, thinking that was like forward progress.
Yeah.
I guess not. So
I just have you used the MagicBands?
So if Tag were here, he and I have very different opinions on the MagicBands at Disneyland.
Hot takes.
I do own a MagicBand. Because they had a promotion going on for a while that if you were a Magic key holder, you got one free with a purchase.
Okay.
So I have a free MagicBand. I have not invested in MagicBand.
Fair.
Tag has multiple magic bands. It's like not quite what my level is with ears, but, similar. So he's got multiple designs, and he very much likes and enjoys the magic bands. So, yeah. So we were kind of a divided thought process on it. I never really... Is it slightly more convenient than pulling the phone out? Yeah. Is it nice to be able to just use that to tap into the parks? If you're a Lightning Lane user, that's easier to tap into versus pulling out your phone and having the ticket scanned, PhotoPass, that sort of thing. But past that, like for me, once we were in the parks...
What's the added value?
Yeah, once we were in the parks, there wasn't that much convenience added, since we're not ones that use Lightning Lane on every trip and, depending on PhotoPass and that sort of thing. So it's kind of, yeah. So if they could have gotten more things integrated, like, if you were staying at one of the resorts, that it could be your room key and you could charge things back to your room and, that kind of thing, that would have been great, but apparently not.
I think that, so my magic band is, viewers, you can see me pointing to it, and listeners, I'm pointing over my shoulder at one of my shelves. The only magic band I ever got was while visiting the Galactic Star Cruiser at Walt Disney World. And they provide you with a magic band. And I'm such a control freak that they're like, do you want to put charges on your wrist with this kind of stuff? And I'm like, nope, I don't. I want to use my card. I'm old school. But I see how the ecosystem works perfectly. But one of the big things that this article is talking about is leaning into the app. And one of the saving graces of Disneyland over Disney World right now is mobile order. So there's so many people already getting their phones out for mobile order that it makes me wonder if they're saying, well, now this is just an added complication, that if you've got your phone out to mobile order, you don't even necessarily have to pay for your food there. And the diehard Disney fans are probably going to be mobile ordering more so than magic banding, and that's our exact market. So I can definitely see where this is like a big old, well, we tried, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is, do you think that there's going to be a collectability market in defunct magic bands that are Disneyland specific?
There might be. It feels like there's someone out there collecting all of the different variations of things. So that very well could be. But yeah, it's just interesting, because the other thing too, on the flip side, is there a cost for them to keep magic bands as a usable thing going forward in Disneyland? Because again, the infrastructure was already put in, and Magic Band Plus already exists because of Walt Disney World, because of the cruise lines and etc. So it's just if they want them on hand or not. So you could still buy one before your trip and use it, but it's just interesting that they're not turning any of the features off just yet. They're just not selling them. So do you think we're just going to have this weird, you can use it, but you can't get one here in perpetuity? Or are we going to
That's a great question.
See them taking, removing some of that technology that's there specifically for the magic bands?
I mean, from a financial perspective, it doesn't make sense for them to be fence sitters, as it were, on that. I mean, if they're going to provide the feature long term, then they're going to make a smart fiscal choice, which is to provide the hardware to be able to satisfy that end goal. And I think that since we're seeing this be phased out, I think we're going to start seeing all of the Magic Band stuff phased out.
Yeah.
That's just my prediction. I could be wrong.
Yeah. And it could be slow. Like maybe the first things that get removed are like when it's like buzzing and flashing along to the different entertainment things. And maybe the last things that we see are the ability to scan into the park or to scan into your Lightning Lane.
Yeah.
But it's curious. I was not really expecting this, and had been seeing for some time online that it's really hard to get. Like, has anyone else noticed you can't find magic bands anywhere? Why are, what's going on? And so I was waiting to bring it up, but now it sounds like it's a little bit more solid. But yeah, this was not on my bingo card for this year.
And yeah, for me, it kind of, what wasn't on my bingo card was magic bands in the first place.
Sure.
That I was like, why?
Yeah,
huh?
Sure.
But again, I look at it from a collectability standpoint too, that I'm like, these are collectible, but for people who are coming to these parks once every 5 years, you can only, I mean, you can't wear a magic band around. People are going to be like, what's that, weirdo? Whereas you can wear a sweatshirt, you can wear a backpack, you can wear all those other accessories. These have a very limited use case in that regard.
Very true. Well, speaking of collectibles.
Yes, Star Wars fans can now head to the Star Wars Trading Post in downtown Disney to create their own custom galactic ID badges. For a mere $15, fans can step into a specialized booth, like a photo booth, to choose their affiliation and have their photo printed on a unique, transparent plastic card that mimics the high-tech look from the films. The experience has become very popular, according to the lines that are wrapping around the building.
What I thought of you instantly when this came out, because you are a big Star Wars fan. You just were just talking about how you're on the Galactic Star Cruiser. You're one of the
7 who did it
that got to go have that experience. What are your thoughts on this? Is this something is this something that's exciting to you, or is this kind of like, eh?
You know, it's a mixed bag for me because I love a holo ID card that you see in universe because they are very cool with the holographic look to them. They are very transparent. Looking at the photos, though, it seems very much like a driver's license that you get outside of Autopia.
Yeah,
that's the vibe I get.
Yeah, I'm curious because it's hard to know since it's, like the display ones are obviously in front of something. So it's hard to know what, I wish they would have waited in the crazy long line to take a picture of an actual one so we would have known.
Yeah.
We are not shading you. It was Mice Chat that had this article. We are not shading you, Mice Chat. That line looked insane. But yeah, I wish I could see somebody holding one and not just one up against the display board. Because if they are, clear and translucent, that's pretty cool. But
I agree with that fully. The other thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around is I'm such a humbug with that kind of stuff that I'm like, no, I don't want that. And then I get to the park and I'm like, yeah, I want that. And so I think that will I likely get one for myself and one for each of my kids? Probably. I mean, if the line is super long around the building, I don't know if the value is there for a waiting experience like that. I will say, though, that it is kind of cool. Now, if they were to put some sort of reader system on there where you could interact with your ID, that would be pretty epic. I mean, because we've all dreamed about walking around Galaxy's Edge and you see around every door that you've got the access points. Would it be awesome if you could tap it up there and be like access denied or some sort of interaction? Yeah, that'd be awesome. So that would be an added value.
So back to our Magic Band story, right?
Yes.
The Bounty Hunter thing. What if they if this was your new way to play the Bounty Hunter game?
There you go. You go.
You get to choose from your ID, so you can decide if you want to be a Jedi Knight, a fighter pilot, a stormtrooper, X-Wing pilot, bounty hunter, or a New Republic pilot. So I don't know if maybe I would think they'd have to have all the ID cards if they were to do this, if Disney's listening. All the ID cards would have to have the same tap ability to be able to play the game, but it would be kind of cool if it was role specific. Like if you bought
each one unlocks something.
Yeah, like if you were a stormtrooper, you had a different experience or something because of your role as a stormtrooper versus somebody that's a Jedi Knight.
And what does that do? That boosts somebody's desire to go and purchase every single one of them.
Yes, it does.
So that's from a sales and marketing standpoint, that is brilliant. Now, again, whether that would ever happen down the road, I don't know. The other thing that I'm trying to figure out is, can you put these on a lanyard? Like, is this something that you have to customize yourself? Because the box that you see them in, there's like a little holding, a holding case on the outside of the photo booth, and it's covered up an area where a lanyard might exist. If you could hang this from your neck, almost like a Comic-Con badge, I'd probably be way more down for that, because I don't want to just have this loosey-goosey thing hanging out in a pocket. It'd be great to be able to hang and display that.
I think this was such a fun thing for them to add that they didn't need to add, but a great way to kind of kick off, let's face it, Star Wars month. I know it's May the 4th is the day, and then you've got Revenge of the 5th, but really it's the whole month is Star Wars themed. So I think this was a really fun thing that they kind of brought out. And I hope that, so right now there's just like this one kiosk. I hope that they maybe pop one up maybe in Tomorrowland. I guess you could do it in Galaxy's Edge now that we've officially opened the timeline.
The floodgate, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Much to my chagrin.
Oh, you were a purist, if you will, for
I'm a purist. Let's go over and listen to the Backside of Water's last 12 episodes as we explore the entirety of Galaxy's Edge, and you'll hear how I sing the praises constantly of it being the crowning achievement of Walt Disney Imagineering.
No.
And all they've done is taken away all of the genius behind it. It's still going to be enjoyable, but it was a story experience unlike any other on planet Earth. And it's in the past now. I've come to peace with that. What I'm wondering with these, Teresa, is do you think that these are just like you said, going to be popped up here for the month of May? Or do you think this is going to be a long-term thing with these ID cards?
I hope it's a long-term thing.
Yeah, I'll be curious. It's an interesting place to have it pop up.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that it's in downtown Disney and not in the parks themselves.
Yeah.
I hope it's long term. I always hope I was really hopeful that the Women of Imagineering tour was going to be long term, and it's still going. It was not just for Women's History Month. So I'm going to have the same hope for this, that this sticks around longer so that more people get to experience it. Because if you're not there in May, that's kind of a bummer to miss this really kind of fun, cool, unique souvenir.
I would love to see if they do this to make it a little bit more than a photo booth feel.
Sure, yeah.
That to me is what feels almost like it was rolled in on like a dolly cart and was like, put this down here for the next 3 weeks and then we're going to be taking it out. Mm-hmm. And so I'll be curious to see how long. We're going in August is our next scheduled trip. We might go earlier, but August is our next scheduled trip. And if this is there, you can bet your last credit that I will be using my last credit to get one of these. Even though I'm not 1,000% stoked, it takes 10% level of stoked for me to buy something. So I'm a sucker.
There you go. Not only are we celebrating Star Wars this month, but we're also halfway to Halloween. So we've had all sorts of fun Halloween-themed announcements happening, but we also got a sneak peek at the 2026 Halloween merchandise, which features a massive collection of apparel, headwear, and home decor for the upcoming spooky season. Highlights include new create-your-own headbands with mini plush characters. There's a vampire Stitch plus a special collection inspired by the Haunted Mansion's tightrope walker, and we even got to see exclusive designs for Oogie Boogie Bash, as well as Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party if you're going to Walt Disney World.
I love a lot of this. I'm going to say this, that I'm usually not a seasonal purchaser. I don't buy a lot of stuff that's like seasonally specific, except for some reason Halloween stuff. Like I'm just a sucker for it.
Yeah. So what would be on your wish list of the things released?
I would say most likely this, well, I'm not going to lie. I think the cutest thing is that little keychain of Vampire Mickey. I think that's adorable.
Yeah.
I think that he's like adorably menacing looking. The other thing that I tend to go to is, which I'm not seeing on here, is their spirit jerseys for Halloween season. And I don't see any hide nor hair of a spirit jersey. But if there is a spirit jersey released that is the pattern that you see basically on this Disney Parks blog, where you've got Mickey and Minnie on both sides of a pumpkin with a D from Disneyland carved into it with a cute little ghost on the front. If that's on a spirit jersey, I'm first in line for that.
Are you a spirit jersey person then?
I didn't used to be, but somehow like 2 years ago, I caught the bug and I love the spirit jersey. I just love it. It's so functional. Mm-hmm. It's exactly what you need in a Disney park for a layer for 9 out of 10 times you go.
That is true.
And so that's what I love. What's standing out to you on this list?
So I'm a big ears person. So it's not a want category. It's in the need category.
Fair.
They're just like a black velvet ear that has, it looks like they're embroidered bats all over it, and it's got like a double bow. One's like a bat wing bow and the other one's kind of like a, I don't know what you call that, crinoline or something, bow that just has more bats. I don't know, there's something about those ears that I'm like, that has to happen. I think
that draws you in.
The other set of years, they've done things similarly to that before, where it's like got, cute like Mickey and Minnie Jack-o'-lantern and like other cute Halloween things on it. So I have something similar, but the bat ones would be unique to my collection. The other thing that caught my eye, like wearable wise, is the Headless Horseman sweatshirt.
Yes.
Because it's got the Headless Horseman, also the Disneyland D, which is one of my favorite like iconic Disneyland merch. Like it's one of my favorite things. So I like that too.
So one thing that I am curious your thoughts on is Disney's lean into like hockey jerseys.
I don't understand it, but I'm also not the target market for those.
Yeah.
They also had like baseball jerseys that they did more recently,
which I can get behind. I like the baseball jersey idea. The hockey ones, they're thick and they're heavy. That's my thing. That I'm just like, this is a lot of fabric, y'all. Mm-hmm. And so I like the design.
Yeah. What'd you think of the Oogie, even though you haven't been to an Oogie Boogie Bash, what'd you think of the Oogie Boogie designs that they...
I like that. I like the design of it. I do like that it looks almost haphazardly stitched in those areas. Very Tim Burton feel to it. Again, I don't know, here's my issue. I want something to be evergreen. And when it says Oogie Boogie Bash 2026, in 2038, people aren't going to be like, bro, you were at 2026? And so that always kind of gets my goat a little bit. The one that I'm curious your thoughts on are, well, first of all, from our last conversation that we had about the little hint towards the stuff coming out for Oogie Boogie Bash with the tightrope walker, we're now seeing a plush being revealed here. Do you think that plush is going to push? I just don't see a lot of people buying this plush.
Yeah, the only way that I think it would work is if she's a meet and greet character. Because otherwise, not very many, like, your diehard Haunted Mansion fans, yes. But past that, nobody's going to know who, like, I don't think people are going to know who she is. So if she's also a meet and greet character, which I'm going to hope that this is a hint towards that, then I think it works. The other thing I noticed too with our, what was that? Yeah, that was last week, that they had the little sneak peek thing, is the exact little Maleficent thing is down
that you see in the collection.
Yeah, I thought that it was like a Funko Pop, but it's a special edition set from Little People Collector. I've never heard of this before, but it is like, that looks like it was the thing in the graphic. That was our little teaser, so...
Now, I could be wrong, but I think that these are like the Fisher-Price Little People things, right? Like where they're for very young kids.
Okay.
And they have little worlds and stuff like that they can play with.
There you go.
I think that's what this is playing into, which is...
interesting.
Because what it's doing is it's playing off of parents' nostalgia for both of these properties and bringing in a new generation, which is smart. I'm not a villains person, so again, that world is a little bit different to me, but I know a lot of people who would absolutely lean into getting those for their kids.
There you go.
I think that one's going to be very, very popular. Now, with that, in celebration of the Disney Week of Wishes, the Disneyland Resort hosted the Wishes Assemble event, officially recruiting nearly 40 Wish kids and their families into the ranks of the Avengers. These young heroes enjoyed a private party at the resort with special appearances by the Marvel stars Anthony Mackie and Paul Bettany, followed by a day of heroic activities within the park. This special celebration highlights Disney's 45-year partnership with Make-A-Wish, focusing on creating life-changing memories for children with critical illnesses. Teresa, how amped are you about this? Because I can hardly even stand how stoked I am that they do these types of things.
I think it's so cool. I think it feels like last year maybe was the first year that they did kind of one of these big in-park events. That one was geared towards YouTube stars that they were kind of in partnership with.
Yes.
The YouTube stars were back. Mr. Beast was back along with other folks that was part of this. And they got to do different, like a lot of unique things in the parks again, which I think is very, very cool. So I want to say what we see. They did like special animation class drawings. There was an egg drop off of the Avengers Campus building that they got to be a part of. very, very cool. There's other events that they got to do with like the hotels and the resorts and stuff. But I just think it's really, really neat that these kids get to come do these things and have a shared experience instead of just, I mean, I think it's very magical that like they'll, that families will get to go do stuff together. But I think it's even like more special when these families get to do these shared experiences as a big group together.
Mm-hmm. I think that one thing that you bring up there that so often we think of, especially when we think about Make-A-Wish stuff, is we think about the kids first and foremost, which obviously is the most important piece. But I think that there is nothing, as a parent, I don't think that there is anything more special than being able to see your kids' dreams come true. For a kid who has struggled with so much potentially through their entire life, and being able to watch that as a parent, I can't think of any better feeling in the entire world than watching your kid's dream come true. And that's what I just love about Make-A-Wish. I mean, I could talk for hours about how much I appreciate what Disney does with Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish is such a great foundation, and Disney is so on board and just accommodates those Make-A-Wish kids beyond anything you would ever imagine. And I am just so proud of the Walt Disney Company for doing this. And they advertise this, but they don't exploit it. That they're like, I think that the main reason why they do it is they say, hey, if your kid's got a wish to come here, this is a great place to have their wish come true. And nothing more than that they're not like, oh, we're a great company. Look how great we are at these humanitarian efforts. They're just so awesome.
Yeah, no, totally agreed. And to kind of go along, our next article is that Bob Iger, so former Disney CEO, that sounds weird to say again, but former Disney CEO Bob Iger was also honored with the inaugural Wishmaker Lifetime Achievement Award during the special event at the Disneyland Resort. It was presented by Make-A-Wish America, and the award recognizes his massive impact on the organization, specifically overseeing the granting of more than 110,000 wishes during his tenure. So just to your point, Alex, they like as tuned in to Disney news as you and I both are. If this would have been a Trivia Land question and I had to guess how many wishes were granted during the time that Bob Iger was the CEO, I would have not thought it was. I mean, it makes sense, but it's also mind-boggling that it's that high. Yeah. So it's absolutely incredible. So.
And when you think about the cost, at what cost did those things come to the organization? Yeah. And it's absolutely astounding. Imagine how well you have to sleep at night, knowing that if you didn't do anything else, if Bob just sat on a beach for the rest of his life, knowing that he made the wishes come true of 110,000 critically ill children. Yeah. What does that have to feel like? That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, my word. So to celebrate May the 4th, Walt Disney Imagineering has shared a behind-the-scenes look at the technical innovation used to create the hologram of Tohan Lage for Disney's Shadows of Memory show. Since true holograms don't exist yet, Imagineers combine specialized projection tricks and visual effects to capture the authentic, flickering aesthetic of a Star Wars transmission. This lore weaver character marks a significant narrative expansion for Galaxy's Edge, anchoring the land story further into the Skywalker legacy.
Did you have a chance to watch this video?
No, I didn't. This one dropped without me even realizing that it dropped.
Well, when you have a chance, if you are one that likes to see a peek behind the curtain, if you will, this one's great. They don't hold anything back. They show, they're showing exactly how they make this happen. So I'm going to just warn our listeners, magic spoilers, we're going to discuss some of it, but if you want to see, if you actually want to see this with your own eyes, we have a link in the show notes, but it was also shared on the Imagineering social media pages. You can find it there. But first of all, have you seen the Shadows of a Memory show?
I have not. I have not.
Oh, okay.
No.
So
again, I'm bad at shows.
Put that on your list as a Star Wars person. I think you would appreciate that because it's a projection show on the spires right behind the Millennium Falcon. That that kind of tell like Luke's story, I guess, and then how that like weaves through into like current, more current day events. Well, it starts with all the Skyworks, so I guess it goes back to Anakin and then continues on.
Now, is this done during the fireworks?
No,
or is this a separate time?
It's separate.
Ooh, okay, all right, I like this.
Yep. It's just projections, music, and then like some lights. But the cool thing is the quote unquote person that's telling this story is Tohan. So there's a little droid that sits all the time in Galaxy's Edge. You'll notice it, like if you're looking at the Millennium Falcon, it's up to the right. And they kind of explain it, but he's the lore weaver, and he was like the storyteller. He has passed, but all of his like memories and stories have been preserved, and this droid kind of brings him back to life. And so they have this really cool, very Star Wars looking projection of Tohan that comes up, and they show exactly how they do this, because it's just in the middle of the park all day until it has to, come out for the show. So it was really interesting to see the behind the scenes magic on how they do this and how they preserve all the stuff. Because to make a hologram, again, magic spoilers, you have to project it onto something. And they have this curved, like, I don't know if it was glass or plexiglass or what, sheet that they have like stored in something that then when the show's time to go, there's a lid that like slides back and then it pops up.
Yeah, flings
so
out.
Like, yeah, and then they have this like mist screen thing that it was crazy. I'm like, holy cow. And all this, and really you're watching the projections, and maybe you remember that the lore weaver hologram's still going on, and it's kind of a side character. So it's like they went through all this just for that's amazing.
Just for that. I do love the level of commitment that they've put towards this. I mean, just watching that, it again gives a level of believability, a level of authenticity to the land itself. And one thing that I think is really interesting is it's people like us, I think, that are pushing Disney to show how the sausage is made. I think that so often now they're seeing that content creators are the ones who are kind of spinning the narrative about how Imagineering does what they do. Because even when I was at the park, they were very hush-hush. They were like, you don't talk at all about how anything is done because it's all magic. You don't say a single word. There were people who were let go from the company for sharing those types of secrets with guests because it, quote unquote, broke the magic. And now, because of the popularity in how the sausage is made, as it were, I think Disney is now kind of pushing that forward and saying, before these content creators start saying this stuff, let's show them ourselves. So we're the ones who are getting those clicks. We're the ones who are controlling the narrative. Yeah. So nobody's giving like an inaccurate way of how they do it. Which is why I find this both fascinating and also a little bit like, don't show us how the sausage is made yet. Let us believe in the magic for a while. Yeah. We love that. But I do love to see how rudimentary the technology is with this. It's nothing super intense. It's literally smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's literally smoke and mirrors. Exactly. I think it's just like you said, I think it's so cool that they're giving this peek behind the screen, especially since it had been so hush hush before. And I think it's served them well. The only time that I think it got away from them a little bit was, and I maybe shouldn't bring this up, but I just don't think, I don't know if you and I have talked about this. So the Walt animatronic, I somehow remained spoiler free and got to see him in person with my own eyes for the first time. I did not see any of the videos, which I know was not the case for a lot of people, and I feel very sorry for them for that, because the night that we saw it, Tag could attest to this because it was in our hotel room afterwards. I watched it and I like audibly gasped when I saw it, because they just did not do him any favors with how they presented it. But this is great. Like, this is so cool, and this is something that's going to inspire future future generations of Imagineers, of like, this is how stuff's done, and like, it's something that you could do, and that sort of thing. So
yeah, absolutely. So wait, I want to go back to this Walt thing. Did you say, were you disappointed at the animatronic, or were you?
I think how they filmed him, like the lighting that they used and how close they got in like the sneak peek videos that they did ahead of time did not do the animatronic any favors. I think that animatronic was built, right? Kind of think of it like a theater, right? You wear stage makeup. It does not look good when you're like
close up,
a normal distance away from someone, but it looks great under the lights from a distance because that's what it was designed to do. And I feel that same thing with the Walt animatronic. He looks like it looks more correct when you're at a distance and he's under the lights versus they had like just like the regular work lights on or something because it was very bright. They didn't have the stage dim. So it was just, he looked worse than what he actually looks like in person. If
I completely agree with that. I will say, I think one of the biggest things too that you don't get is context.
That's true. Yeah.
In the show, it builds up the magic. It tells the story of the life of Walt Disney, and then you see Walt in the flesh, as it were, right in front of you, and that's what creates the magic. Yeah. So I could see how this definitely, depending on what they're showing, could backfire in some ways, and it's sure.
It's all in how they show it too, and I think this was done really well because they showed it at night, so you kind of, it doesn't completely wash away all the magic, but you still see like a little. It's just that it's the peek behind the curtain.
I love it.
We have to get the snacks for Tag and Teresa and James and Bern. Oh, and Cinderella. Time for SnackChat.
Well, for this week's Snack Chat, we are still continuing our celebration of being halfway to Halloween. Disneyland actually has released some returning food items that you can look forward to this spooky season. So, Alex, first of all, have you gotten to enjoy any of these items before? If so, what'd you think? Or if not, what's standing out to you as like, okay?
I have not tried things. I still want a mac and cheese cone over at the Cozy Cone. I've never gotten one because the line is always so atrocious, but they always look so good. And I love the idea of that flaky looking cone. I don't even know what it's made out of. It's a bread or whatever, but count me in. But the thing that really, really catches my eye, I love a well presented treat. And this caramel apple cheesecake thing that looks like that's what this thing is, that's bubbling over like a cauldron look, right? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yep, that's what I'm getting to.
Oh my gosh, my blood sugar just spiked looking at this thing.
So the thing that's crazy though is if I were just to read caramel apple cheesecake and like what my brain thinks that would look like, this is not what I would have assumed. Like I would not have assumed this is a caramel apple cheesecake. So if you don't visit the link in our show notes, we will attempt to describe it for you. It is very orange. It is an orange cheesecake with like, maybe that's caramel or maybe it's like an orange colored drizzle. I'm assuming it's caramel,
hard to tell,
but it looks very orange in this, and it's got a little bat kind of perched up on the top.
A little chocolate bat.
So
it looks like. Am I mistaken that this looks like a cauldron? Am I completely off on that?
I wasn't catching that vibe until you said it. I'm like, oh yeah, with all the with the caramel bubbling over and dripping and oozing. Yes, it does.
Now, how excited do you get about a pizza, Teresa? Do you get excited about a pizza?
No, I do not. Pizzas are not my must try item. Whenever they have foodie guides, I appreciate that they do various things with pizza that's more than just pepperoni, cheese, sausage. So there's an audience for it. I am not that audience. I'm
with you on that.
Usually the drinks. That's I'm the audience for the drinks. And I was gonna say, as often as we've gone for Halloween time, and as many different items I've tried on various menus of the past, I have not tried this green apple lemonade.
Ooh, but it sounds good.
Yeah, and I don't know why I've never tried it. Maybe they just had other things that sounded more appealing, and so I just went for those instead. And you can only have so many liquids in a day.
Yeah, fair.
So maybe that's it. But again, it's the aesthetic for me because reading green apple lemonade kind of sounds a little boring. But they have this, I don't know, red stuff drizzled on the inside of the glass, so it looks like it's bloody. It looks like there's some maybe
I see
boba.
I was going to say, I see your boba in there.
Looks like there's some boba, so I'm wondering what the red is. Like what
I'm curious, especially because there's nothing that, I mean, outside of the green apple, I'm assuming that the red is representing the poison apple from Snow White, but is it going to be a grenadine? Or
is it like a cherry syrup, like a cherry apple or something? I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, I would be, because leaning into both green apple and lemonade, those both, I don't know, like whenever you think of something tart, I get like this pain in the back of my jaw. That's all I think of when I read this description, is it seems like it's going to be a real tart number. And so I'm wondering if that red's going to cut that tart potentially.
Hopefully that's got a little a sweetness factor to kind of mellow it out. Because I'm the same way. I enjoy lemonade. I always think I like lemonade, and then I get one, and then I get halfway through it, and I'm like, nope, I cannot be doing it. Like, I enjoy the first couple sips of a lemonade, and then that's. So I'm with you. Maybe that's why I've steered clear of this, because I just read green apple lemonade, and I'm like, no.
Well, maybe this year, because to me, just like we talked about earlier, I almost sometimes feel like the clashiest things and the most unlikely are sometimes the most shockingly awesome, i.e. that chili cheese churro. It's one of those that makes you think like, oh, that sounds awful. I got to try that. So maybe this is one of those where it seems like it's going to be not a great mix, but maybe it's a wonderful match made in Disneyland.
That's true. And although it is not the churro of your dreams, the chili cheese churro, that spicy mac and cheese cone does kind of feel like it's in the same vein. Because I
love a spice.
The bread that's kind of like the churro base, the cheese of the mac, and then you've got the crunched up. What are those? The spicy.
It almost looks like a Taki. Yeah. Have you ever had one of these mac and cheese cones?
I have not. So so this is a weird thing with me. I tend to stay away from things like this where it's like I'm going to eat carbs inside of more carbs. I need like two different food groups to balance out.
I get that.
I don't know.
I like to, when I eat an actual meal, I'm with you. I eat so many sweets that I'm like, I need a protein. Like I just have to feel like I'm balancing a little bit. And that's the hard thing about that mac and cheese is you're right. It's carb on carb. Yeah. And that can be tough.
Yeah. We had that issue. We tried I don't know if it's still viral, but it was once viral hack with the cheesy garlic bread, the cheesy garlic pretzel bread.
Wait, what's the hack? You put a sausage in there?
Then you go over to, oh my gosh, you get a Bengal barbecue skewer.
No! Whoa! Whoa!
And you put the two together. I'm surprised you haven't heard this before.
Nope.
We tried
but
that
I'm doing it.
Love the cheesy garlic pretzel bread. Love the Bengal barbecue skewers. And maybe it depends on what skewer you do. Maybe that was the problem. But the two together, it was like too much savory, and it was very, very sad because I really, really wanted to like it, but it was too savory. So maybe if I tried it with like the chicken skewer instead of one of the beef skewers.
Because the beef has like a glaze on it, like a teriyaki glaze. Yeah, that could be clashy, because what you want is that really rich flavor from the garlic. Yeah. But you don't want another rich in your meat. You want your meat to be the thing that brings it back down, that kind of gives it that level and brings it down to earth again. I don't know why I talk this much about food, but it's just something that
you're in SnackChat.
This is the perfect place for this. I do think that though it will be worth trying one of those mac and cheese cones. I like a spice. I like a little sizzle.
The spice and then the like crunchy topping may work. Otherwise, that's the other thing too, is I like a variety of textures.
Yeah. So you don't get that much if it's just a bowl of mac and cheese.
Yep, exactly.
I think that's fair. I think that I always have to remind myself, Al, you don't have to eat the whole thing. You don't have to, even though your brain tells you to.
There is that option as well. Well, and then it's also hard because you're paying theme park prices. So you're
yes. That's where it's like, no, you do have to eat it and some, and then eat the plate too.
You just need to find a snack buddy that you can share the snacks with.
Oh, that's my hack, is having a wife and 2 kids that come with me.
There you go.
Ooh,
You've got
I get to...
plethora of snack buddies.
And I just have like 3 bites of each thing. It's like Disney tapas that I just get little plates of everything, and hallelujah, it's amazing.
And you can try all the things.
Except the spicy. My 7-year-old will be like, Dad, this is awful.
You just got to like build him up and like secretly...
Tolerance. Yeah.
Secretly build his spice tolerance without him realizing.
Tahini in his cereal every morning.
There you go. He'll be having that spicy chili churro in no time.
In no time.
In no time at all. If you enjoy listening to the show, please consider rating and reviewing the show on your podcast app. It helps other Disney fans become weekly tiers and part of the community.
Your attention, please. DL Weekly Trivia is now leaving for a Grand Circle tour of the Magic Kingdom, with stops at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. All weekly tiers for...
Welcome to Trivia Land, where we have some wonderful listener-submitted questions because we have the most wonderful listeners. Alex, Teresa, are you full of knowledge and ready to take on these questions?
Well, first off, we need to welcome Alex. This is his first time ever visiting Trivia Land.
Yes, this is your first trip to Trivia Land.
Yeah,
are
I'm
you
a little
intimidated?
I was going to say, you might want to just turn back now.
Whoops, see you later.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're easing you in. These shouldn't be too difficult for you.
Oh, no.
So.
Now I'm setting myself up even more for failure when these are just the soft pitches.
Well, at least I wasn't intentionally going hard like I sometimes will. So let's see what the listeners have for you. Your first listener submitted question from listener Donna S. Where did Bob Gurr get the name of the Doom Buggy? Specifically, we're trying to figure out who was the person that inspired it.
Oh.
To me, it seems like a Rolly Crump sort of phrase.
Sure. Yeah. I was trying to think like if it was something outside of Disney, like if
like
it
his
wasn't
barber
from an Imagineer, if it was from like a famous like actor or actress or like movie or something. I have no idea though. I'm trying to think like Doom Buggy is so ingrained in my memory that I can't think of what that could have been a wordplay of. Because that's just what it is. Like, there is nothing except Doom Buggies. Like a dune, I guess. Like a dune buggy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm going to go with you with Rolly Crump because I've got nothing better. And I just need to hand my Haunted Mansion fan card. Just turning it right on in.
All right. So you're both saying Rolly Crump. Final answer.
It's the best we got.
All right.
Best and final.
Your second listener submitted question from listener Kim G. What is the name on the side of the red stagecoach as you're walking from Frontierland into Batuu? And why is this special?
Well, there's a couple of reasons why this one's special.
I was going to say, isn't it for the land that never came to be? What the heck?
Wilderness Expedition is...
Oh, maybe it's a crate that's there.
It's so the initials are WED that are on the crate. And it actually goes into, hold on.
Oh, we're not talking about the crate. We're talking about there's an insignia on the door to the stagecoach.
He's a member of the SEA, actually.
What is his name? Because it's the
You're
land
stuck
that
on the
Tony...
crate. We're looking at the door of the stagecoach.
Okay. On the door?
Yeah, the crate was a couple weeks ago on a different question.
Yeah, but now I'm like trying to remember what was the land that was going to be there.
That was going to be Thunder Mesa, Big Thunder Mesa. Was going to be in that area, but then it was also going to be Discovery Bay.
Discovery Bay
was going to come back over in that area. Oh, Freddie Martin would just kick me right now because I don't remember this. It's even in our first SEA episode. Or is that on the crate? Because I want to say it's like Justin or something like really like it feels very modern and it shouldn't be on a stagecoach.
Oh, sure. I don't know. I need to turn my Frontierland card in apparently too, because you said these were easy.
Yeah, I have all the history about them, but I just don't know the specifics.
Okay, as I look closely, these aren't really that easy. Sorry.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to say...
for me as I'm doing my verification checks, and I've got the entire power of Google at my fingertips.
Wait, are you cheating, Teresa?
No, I was trying to find the name of your guy, which is not even what it is because it was bothering me.
Oh,
Jason.
Yes. Jason seems like a very modern name,
Jason
not like
Chandler.
an 18th. Yeah, Jason
Get
Chandler.
off the crate.
I know. We're
I
not.
can't get off the crate. That's the only thing I
We were
know.
stuck on it. And
We're
I had to at least
specifically
do that.
talking about the stagecoach and the door, and there's an emblem on the door. It looks
Do we
like a
think-
coat of arms.
Do we think it has to do with who is the fictitious character that Tony Baxter of Big Thunder Mountain? What's his name?
Barnabas T.
Do we
Bullion?
think it has something to do with him?
Why don't we just say that? Why don't we just expose our shame and say that it's Barnabas T. Bullion? 0 for 2.
Okay.
Alex is never going to come back to Trivia Land. He's just going to.
I love stumpers. I love stumpers.
All right.
The listeners are great with them.
Your third listener submitted question from listener Jocelyn. On what date did Disneyland start being open 365 days a year? Now, this one, I always try to verify every single question, and the answer that I was given is specific to the exact day and month and year. I will accept just the year, and I will accept either of 2 years, because this was a hard one to nail down the verification.
Okay, so we just have to come up with a year.
I was going through newspaper articles, and I could not nail this one down exactly. So I got a lot of different answers, even from reading newspaper articles. So I'm giving you some grace.
Okay.
I don't think. So, okay, right. We opened in 55. I would say, was it like in the 80s sometime?
Well, and that's what I'm getting hung up on, because I know they went away from the ticket tier system in the 80s, and that's what I'm wondering. Did they go 365 at the same season that they went away from A, B, C, D, E tickets? I feel like you're right, though, Teresa.
Yeah, I'm thinking 80s, but now which part? 1980.
I feel like 1983. Did you just say 83?
Yes. We're going with it. We're just going to go with it.
All right. We feel something there.
Yeah. There's something, maybe there's nothing about 1983, but we're going with it.
All right. So 1983, you're
If we are right about 1983, I want a chili cheese churro immediately.
Yeah.
Yes. I will personally make one for you.
Fair enough. All right.
He's a couple hours away.
Well, but that'll give me plenty of time to get the ingredients together.
I also feel like he said that so confidently because he knew he didn't have to make the churro, so we know it's not.
Or because I enjoy the churro that much that I want to enjoy the one with you.
All right. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. And your fourth and final question tonight from listener Olivia. How can you tell the difference when speaking to face characters between a princess who is born into royalty and a princess who married into royalty?
Alex, I will let you go first because I just happened to stumble upon this on social media today.
I don't even understand the question.
So there's
when you're talking to a face character,
which I don't think I've ever done.
You're talking to a princess who's in their full formal.
Okay.
And you need to know, are they born into royalty or did they marry into royalty? How can you tell?
There's a facial expression or something on their face.
No.
It's a clothing item.
It's something about
so
them.
Think princesses.
Is it a
human princesses that were not born princesses?
Is it like
married.
a tiara or something like that? I don't know what. Y'all, I know
You're on the right
You're on the right track.
Okay. So it's something that they're adorned with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was thinking, okay, does it have to do with the head?
No.
No. So the body, a brooch.
A brooch?
I have no clue.
I'll put you out of your misery just because again,
please
I
do.
lucked into watching this on social media today. Gloves. They wear
What? Really?
So think Cinderella.
Because you can't
Belle.
touch the royalty.
Yep, Cinderella, Belle, and then who's the other one? Tiana. So they were 3 individuals that married into royal families, and they all wear like ball gown gloves or whatever you want to call them. So those like long gloves, except for, who is it? Queen Elsa wears gloves, but that's for protection, and she just wears like, short ones. So yeah,
conceal,
so
don't feel. Yeah,
like and they're specifically like the long gloves.
I am watching the wrong TikToks. Not getting the proper information.
I'll tell you where this was that I found it. It was a pin, like trading a pin trivia question is what I happened to catch it on. And of course, they said it, and I was like, what? So I had to watch the whole thing because I was so, like you, very perplexed. So we'll see if it was the same thing this person watched. Maybe there's some other hint or tell.
Well, my final answer is gloves.
Forget that brooch.
Brooch? What brooch?
Yeah. Who said brooch?
Okay, so you're each slipping on a glove and making a pair out of them, right?
That was a stretch.
I don't have tag to come up with the puns. I need to practice. All right. Well, listeners, how did you do listening at home? How do you think Teresa and Alex did? If you stick around until after the discussion, we can all find out together.
For this week's episode, we are joined by none other than Haley Clair, who is a voice actor, singer, and the granddaughter of Disney legend Harriett Burns. Welcome, Haley.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
We are super excited to talk about your career, but then also about your wonderful grandmother's career, because she was just a gem. Alex and I were talking before you joined the call about how you hear her name, but we don't really know much about her. So we're so excited to learn more about her.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that too. I mean, her career is way cooler than mine so far.
I like that so far. Well
so
done.
Far. I like
Aspiration.
it. Yeah.
Love it.
So far. But, you know, she gave me some big shoes to fill, metaphorically speaking, because she was like the tiniest human alive. You know, that has occurred to me that not a ton of people know who she is. She's not as famous, per se, amongst the Disney world as Mary Blair was, you know, even though they worked side by side. And in fact, they were carpool buddies for a while. So it makes me really happy when people want to kind of share her story and share her legacy, because I think she was just the coolest lady ever. And so I want everybody else to know that too.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, before we begin, can you tell us your Disney story? So not only are you related to a Disney legend, but you're also a fan yourself. So can you kind of tell us how that came to be for you?
Well, it's really hard not to become a diehard Disney fan when your grandmother worked for the man himself. So we grew up. I couldn't tell you when the first time was that I went to the parks. I don't remember it. I was probably in diapers, maybe a pull-up. But I know that we went at least every year with my grandma. She would take us to the parks, and it was always the most magical and special time. Things that I totally took for granted back then were like she would treat us to the Disneyland Hotel every time. And now I'm like, oh, God, that was wonderful. Can someone keep treating me to the Disneyland Hotel? That'd be great.
You're like, wait, this isn't just part of the experience? You don't just
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's when my Disney story started. It was before memories. And so naturally it became this very special thing. And we'd always, you know, we always knew that she was super cool and we knew what she did, but she would never like spoil the magic. As little kids, we'd be like, how did they do that? Why? How is there fire on the Pirates of the Caribbean? It looks like real fire. Especially to a 5-year-old. And she'd be like, oh, no, it's Disney magic, you know? And I was like, come on. You know, a little bit later, she admitted a few things as we grew up and we're like genuinely curious. But yeah, that's my Disney story. It's integral and tied to hers. So she passed on that love to us. And I'm just a diehard fan now. I'm a pass holder like everybody else. Unfortunately, no, we don't get any Disney perks. That's the first thing everybody else asks me too is, do you get free passes for life? And it's like, no.
You're like, that would be great, but
that would be wonderful. But unfortunately not. Now I'm a fan just like everyone. And so I have a magic key for Disneyland. And, you know, we don't get to Florida as often, but I have been a couple of times and it's a totally different world, totally different place out there.
Haley, I have to ask, talking about how your entry point into this is through the parks. When you're walking through the parks and when you're experiencing these attractions, where are those fingerprints of your grandmother that you hold on to, especially when you're on an attraction or in some of the areas or singing along with the Tiki Room, whatever it may be?
Well, it's definitely in the Tiki Room, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's in all of the classic attractions that she worked on. It's in the Sleeping Beauty Castle because she worked on that model with Fred Stricker. That might have been one of her first projects, I think, after Walt moved her over from the Mickey Mouse Club into like the parks, project. Well, park then, just one. But I think it's so special that she got to do that. And I actually had a totally emotional experience recently on A Small World. I had an afternoon in the park by myself before some friends arrived to meet me. And that is the beauty of being a pass holder, is that you can just go for an afternoon. But I was like, you know what, I'm feeling nostalgic. Let me hop on It's a Small World. And it really hit me being in this boat with a bunch of strangers. A couple people had a really little kid. And I was like, my grandma was like in here. Like she worked on this. She created these dolls. She, I can see her artistic style in especially the Africa room with the animals, the hippo, everybody's favorite hippo.
Yeah.
And the giraffes especially. She had a thing for giraffes. Nobody knows where it came from, but she had giraffes all over her house. Can't tell you any more than that, but it became an association that we knew she loved them. And so like the three giraffe heads, or the two, is it 2 or 3? I can't remember, that stick out, right before you cross into the next room of Small World. And I just, I felt like a voyeur a little bit. And that I was kind of, visiting this special place. And it was more than just riding the ride that time, even though I've been on it hundreds of times before. And I'm watching this family with their small child take it all in. And I'm like, millions of people see this work that she created, and that's so special. And I love that. And they had no idea how big of a thing was that they were making at the time.
Yeah.
They were just trying to figure it out.
Especially with something like It's a Small World, because when it was first created, everybody thought, oh, this is just going to run for 1964, 1965, and then we're going to see what happens from there. Whereas Walt obviously had bigger plans for that, and it's so crazy that he never saw those plans come to fruition in his lifetime with the installation of Small World. But that does have to be so cool to see something that was intentionally designed to be temporary like that live on for decades and decades and become something that is so deeply ingrained in culture, and knowing that your grandmother was a huge influence on such an iconic part of Americana.
Yeah, 100%. And it is really special. I get the same feeling in the Tiki Room, like you mentioned, knowing that she put the feathers in all of those birds, and that she, we've got the photos of her working on Jose, and like Jose was her bird. And I heard somebody somewhere recently bought the original Jose in like an auction. And I was like, oh, who has it?
Probably John Stamos would be my guess.
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
But like how wonderful, it's like, and so I have some fun photos, that I've taken, with Jose in the Tiki Room. And yeah, that's where those fingerprints are all over.
Well, I think one thing that's really cool about Disneyland overall, Haley, as a little background on myself, I used to be a Jungle Cruise skipper, and I was a tiki bird wrangler. And so that's why the Tiki Room has such a wonderful place in my heart. But I think one of the things that's so cool about the Walt Disney Company in general, especially on the park side, is I don't think a lot of people realize what a museum they treat Disneyland as. That when they would do tours while I was working in the Tiki Room, they would bring out original feathers, singular feathers from those birds, or they would bring out a singular singing flower, and they would show the group who was taking the tour, and then this thing would be put back in like its very special, very secretive vault behind the scenes. But it's just incredible because you'd never see that at Knott's. Like, you would never see that at Legoland, where they're like, this is a piece of true history. No one else can touch this except me with the white gloves. Same thing with all of the different elements inside of that Tiki Room. The fact that they do everything that they can to keep every original feather, every original flower, every original tiki in the exact same condition just shows me how much they value the work that people like your grandmother and all the others who built this place, it really, really do understand how great it is.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is what makes Disney so special is its history.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they preserved that and, like keep it in the archives all locked up. But it's very special. It's really cool. And like, I know that my grandmother touched those feathers, like she was in charge. She was the feather lady. Like, here's a fun story about the Tiki Room that I've learned recently. And that is that it was the Tiki Room that my grandmother, I guess that was the project that she went to Walt and asked for more women, because before that point, she was the only woman. She was the first female Imagineer. And that is a title that I cherish.
As you should.
Yeah.
But it was the Tiki Room, and it was her. It wasn't anybody. She went to Walt and said, I need more girls. This is too many birds. And so they brought over the women from the ink and paint department. And that is the story of how Imagineering went from one singular woman to several, many.
That's awesome. Like
Yeah.
she was a pioneer of her time for sure. But then the fact that she, then embraced and like welcomed other women to come in to be part of WED Enterprising at that time is just, that's awesome. That's really incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even though you go to Disneyland pretty frequently, a lot of us Disneylanders seem to kind of have a pattern. I will say that, when we go on a first day, we kind of go attack the park the same way. So what's kind of your plan of attack when you get through the turnstiles and go under the train tunnel? Where do you like to go? Do you go left towards Adventureland, forward to Fantasy, right to Tomorrow?
It's changed a lot in the last, I don't know, couple years, I guess, especially with the new Lightning Lane program and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When we do decide to get Lightning Lanes, it's like the second you walk into the park, you feel like you have to start like,
You just all
okay,
over.
what am I going to get? But if I had, if I just had my way and I wandered in and I totally did it on a whim without that, and I do that still sometimes, and it's wonderful. I do tend to love Adventureland. I think Adventureland is my favorite area of Disneyland. It is, to me, the most, outside of the new lands that they've built, Star Wars and Cars Land and everything, which are spectacular theming. The immersion there is, in my opinion, unmatched in both of those lands. But if we're talking the original stuff, Adventureland to me has the most immersive theming, and it really feels like you're transported to somewhere tropical. And I love it there. I love sitting in the new terrace where they have the Dole Whips now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. The Tropical Hideaway.
Tropical Hideaway right beside the Jungle Cruise. And if you're lucky enough to shark out a table right next to the water, because everybody likes those, then I love to just like sit there with my Dole Whip and like, take in the scenery there. And it feels, to me, it feels like a vacation right over there.
Mm-hmm.
It feels alive. That's what I think I love about Adventureland is there's something that makes it feel like it's living and breathing. And there's authenticity throughout the park, but I think that there's a different level of authenticity with Adventureland. And I think it's because of the thriving greenery, the foliage that you have there, that you also have sounds that aren't piped in. The fact that the jungle is actually considered its own thriving ecosystem, that if Disneyland Park were to shut down today, the Jungle Cruise jungle would still thrive. It would still continue to propagate, to perpetuate because of the way that they created that. I think that's where you get that extra level of, like you said, immersion, that you feel like you're on a true vacation because you're hearing birds off in the distance. You're feeling temperature changes from the water. You're actually seeing what looks to be more dilapidation when in reality there's real dilapidation because of the jungle consuming things. I'm totally biased, but I'm 100% on board with you.
Yeah, I love that area. And I love where it leads. I love going from there into New Orleans Square. So those tend to be my favorite areas of the park to hang out in.
You are preaching to the choir, Haley. That's my way to go to. And whenever I don't really know what I'm doing, like in the park, that's where I just always seem to end it. I just get pulled back over to that corner of the park because it's just so well done. So well done.
I don't know about you guys, but I almost feel like I could spend an entire Disney day without going to Fantasyland or Tomorrowland. Like I could spend my entire day on that half. It's just so great. That's Disneyland to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me. I mean, it's like it makes me feel a little bad to say that. But I do think I have had entire days where I maybe didn't. At least the central hub of Fantasyland, right around the carousel, that area, and Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland is the thing that everybody knows and acknowledges needs some work.
Yeah, fair.
I also know that Imagineering is well aware of that too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I know that there's always those questions of budget and time and how do they do it? Do they shut down the whole area to redo it, or do they just do it pieces here and there? And I have no idea what they're plotting behind those magical walls, but I do know that everybody knows that Tomorrowland needs
some love.
A little bit more tomorrowism,
Yeah.
I have a vision in my mind that I think it needs to be the tomorrow of yesterday.
Yeah.
I feel like if they were to freeze Tomorrowland in 1958, everybody would be so stoked because it's not like we want to see. I mean, when they were opening up the Kaiser Pig to see the wonders of aluminum back in the day, yeah, that was cool at that time. But now we're so surrounded by future as is. We want almost like an escape from that future and to see into a future of what could be. And that's where I think Tomorrowland needs to fall. Executives disagree with me, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, being an armchair Imagineer is one of my favorite hobbies. And
you're in good company.
My favorite phrase when I'm walking around the park and I'm like, why didn't they do this? Why didn't do this? No one asked me. No one asked me.
They clearly did not ask for my input.
But in general, I do think that the Imagineers are brilliant and are still doing amazing work. And now, of course, Imagineering and Disney as a whole is just a bigger, it's a monster of a company. It's a corporation and it's so different. It's a completely different world than when my grandma and the originals were working there with Walt, because they were. I mean, it was like duct tape and a paintbrush and a dream, and let's figure it out. And so now there's just so many more corporate processes that I know they have to go through in order to accomplish things. But I do think that the things they have accomplished recently are spectacular.
Yeah. Well, and then just the fact of they were focusing on one theme park, and now there's however many separate parks around the world,
around the globe,
that they're having to continuously do different things and create new adventures and new things for all of us fans to experience. It's just,
but we do hope that eventually our original Tomorrowland and the original park gets a little love.
Yes.
I think it
Disneyland
will.
Forward. We still have options. We have the Disneyland Forward budget.
Until we see a third gate open, and then we realize that that's where all that money's going.
But if they open that third gate, you're going to take the pressure off of Disneyland a little bit, so then you could close Tomorrowland and not disrupt things too much.
I don't disagree with that. I would love to see Tony Baxter's vision for Tomorrowland come to fruition, which I don't know if y'all know about what he wanted to do. Tony Baxter, listener, as you probably know, is the powerhouse in Imagineering. And Tony Baxter actually originally wanted to turn Tomorrowland into a vision of futures past. So he wanted to take the vision of Jules Verne from back in the day, like the Time Machine and Journey to something to the Center of the Earth, and take that Victorian, almost steampunky style and put that in Tomorrowland of Disneyland. And you actually see that in some areas, especially when you see whatever the big ball thing, I'm spacing it off the top of my head, pun intended with spacing. Whatever that big diorama is up there, you see visions of that, and those golds and those bronzes were going to be tied in. And if you remember, they originally had the entire dome of Space Mountain in this really bright bronze color that was reminiscent of a Victorian era kind of clockwork punk sort of feel. And then it got totally, the budget got cut in 1/10 of what it once was. And so they were like, okay, this is what we have. And then
it's funny you talk about that style, because I do think they actually accomplished that in Paris.
And guess where Tony saw his dream come true.
I know. And I love
Paris.
Tomorrowland in Paris.
Yes.
I do love it. I love Disneyland Paris.
It's my dream to go there and just see that rocket to the moon, the way that they've created that to feel just like the Voyage to the Moon film from back in 1908, 1912, something like that. Oh, that's a dream of mine. Don't get me started. This is a dangerous place to take us.
Well, Haley, let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about Harriet's career. How did she even get involved with Disney?
It's such a fun tale of luck, and I just love it. She was working for a company called Dice in the early 50s. I believe she was doing various models for, she did a giant Santa's workshop for a Christmas display, and she was working on a couple of, I think, hotel things in Vegas, like window displays.
Yeah.
And so she was already doing model work there, but then Dice folded. And she heard from a friend, I don't know who, but there was a friend who said, hey, I heard Disney's hiring. I'm going to check them out. Do you want to come? So she put in her application to Disney, and there were all these rumors, nobody really knew what he was doing yet. But this is a legend. And I don't know, because she was a tale teller.
Oh, okay.
And she had a great sense of humor and was very tongue in cheek. Some of the stories she told, I don't know if she was being funny or if they were real, because I was a child. So, as the story goes, she claimed she only got the interview because they thought her name was Harry, not Harriet. And so then she walked in and said, ta-da!
Oh, interesting.
That is interesting.
But I don't know if that's fact or fiction, but I'm rolling with it.
It was a fact from her, so that was something she said.
So she got the job as the first female, and she started out working on the Mickey Mouse Club, and her first project was creating the design for the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I think very shortly, within 2 weeks of starting, Walt plucked her over and put her in the parks area, the Disneyland project. In the model shop at the time, there were only 3 of them in the model shop. It was her.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, her, Fred Jerger, and Waithel Rogers. And so it was the 3 of them, and their shop, quote unquote, was I believe it was like a tin shipping container in the studio backlot. And
real official.
Yeah. And their desk was a couple of sawhorses and a piece of wood on top.
Wow, yeah.
And I think one of her first projects, once she was moved over there, was the Sleeping Beauty Castle model.
That's crazy.
They got right to work on it, and the Disneyland project was underway. It was 1955 when she was hired. I don't know what month, but I'm assuming it was early. I'm going to go with, let's say, January.
Sounds right.
Because the park opens, in July. As for anybody who's seen the recent documentary by Leslie Iwerks, Disneyland Handcrafted.
Oh, beautiful.
That park went up in a blink. I just can't even, it boggles my mind how quickly they threw it together.
It could never happen today.
No.
Never.
In any industry. Never happened that fast.
But so she was doing the models from the start, all of the scale models for things. We've got images of her working on the scale model of what got scrapped of Candy Mountain, which then was turned into the Matterhorn Mountain. The story behind that was that, Walt wanted Candy Mountain, and they did the whole model with real candy and everything. It might have attracted mice. And it was huge. I mean, as a scale model, it was still several feet high.
Yeah.
And then Walt walked in, and I think it was maybe somebody said to Walt, this is when you eat a dinner, you want your meat and your potatoes, and then you have your little bit of dessert after, and this is too much dessert. And Walt was like, "You're right, scrap it."
Wow, all that work, to think that was probably just thrown away after that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we know that happened is my grandma brought a box of rock candy home, a huge box of all the rock candy they had used. And my mom snuck it to school the next day and shared it with all of her friends and got in big trouble.
She ate all of that history.
Because my mom was very young in these days. She was a little kid.
Yeah.
That's precious.
But we do actually have 2, maybe 3 pieces of now very petrified rock candy from the original Candy Mountain model, and they hang on our Christmas tree every year.
Oh,
That's
neat.
amazing.
That's very, very neat.
They don't attract the critters anymore.
That's good.
I don't think there's anything edible on that.
So being in the model shop, that's a very specific craft.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, did she go to school specifically for modeling, or was it for set design? What was, because she went to...
It was art. As far as I know, she just got her art degree.
Okay.
Okay.
And so maybe she, tried out all kinds of things, and that was what she gravitated towards. When I tell you, she was the tiniest human. She was so small. And so I think maybe her petiteness and her tiny little fingers loaned itself.
Gave her advantage.
Very well to working with tiny little things.
Yeah.
And that's my guess. But she never really talked about her training, we just know that she went to art school.
Well, and I feel like in that time, and is evident with, the Walt Disney Company, people went to school for one thing, but then somehow Walt just figured out and saw things in them that they didn't even know they had inside them. And he got that to come out in all the most amazing ways. And so they were able to do these incredible things that they never would have believed that they were going to do.
Absolutely. and the fact that she went to art school, back then was kind of a big deal and very disapproved of by her parents. Her parents were very strict. Her mom, Ivy B. She was a Latin teacher and very strict. Very, very strict. I don't remember what her dad did. Her dad's name was Tommy Tap.
Tommy Tap and Ivy B. These sound like the names of a Pixar short.
Yeah.
And so my grandma's maiden name was Harriet Tap, and she loved dancing around to Shirley Temple films and songs, and she got the nickname Tippy Tap as a kid. And we have some cousins and things who still call her Aunt Tippy.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Man, she lived up to her name, loving Shirley Temple and tapping. That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
I want to pause and go back for a moment. So you mentioned that Harriet helped with the original Fantasyland model for the castle. Have you visited the Walt Disney Family Museum?
Yeah, of course.
They have. They have a castle on display.
I do think they have it. I do.
I was gonna say, is that the one?
Is it the gold one?
The gold one, yes.
No, the model was
Different,
actually
like
the model
colors?
with the colors and everything.
Got it.
Oh, and I have a story about the colors. It was so silly. I love this story. And she was solving problems. So there was an argument between Ivan Earl and Herb Ryman about what colors the castle should be for the model. And
Which, real quick, Haley, can you tell listeners why those two have significance, especially to the castle design?
yes. So Ivan Earl, and you guys correct me if I get any of this crossed, but Ivan Earl, he did the art design for Sleeping Beauty, the film.
All the background art, yeah.
Yeah, and the film had not yet been released, and so Walt was building this castle as kind of like a PR stunt.
Yeah, promo.
So Herb Ryman said, no, it should be whimsical. It should be bright and fairy tale colors to draw people in. And Ivan Earl said, no, I've done the art design for this, and it should be like black and red and dramatic, and that will. So they were arguing about black and red or pink and blue.
Oh wow!
And
it sounds like two characters from that film.
I know. I know. I did a funny little reel on Instagram about it, and I used that exactly. Ultimately, the pink and blue model won out, but that's because my grandma was like, you guys are bickering, and I'm going to build you two models, and you're going to paint it the way you want it, and we're going to show Walt, and he'll pick. And so she built two models for them to paint to solve the dispute. And obviously, we know the whimsy won out over the dramatic, but can you imagine if the original castle was red and black?
It wouldn't have worked. It just wouldn't
It would
have.
have made a statement.
Sure would. And, maybe they'll bring that in some element when they build the Villains Land, that they're talking about doing. But that was a fun story. And she was like, oh, you guys are just stop. Here, there's two.
Well, and there's a lot of skin in the game for both of those people. I mean, Ivan Earl, here he was holding the legacy and creating the legacy with the Sleeping Beauty art design, along with Mary Blair's influence in there. But then you also have Herb Ryman, who basically was the one who created the first visual experience that we got of the Disneyland park. And when you see that castle in that original design, it is towering over everything, and it's not red and black, which I find very interesting. So I'm like, Herb Ryman, why were you so like bent on red and black for that thing?
That was Ivan Earl.
Yeah.
Ivan Earl wanted
Ivan Earl was the one who wanted red and black. Oh,
because he wanted it more closely to match the aesthetic of the film.
okay.
Which is dramatic, and there's there's sharp, dramatic colors.
Yes,
in the design of the
there's a
film.
darkness to it. I think it would be great in Villains Land, which because isn't that going? Is that going in Disney World?
World.
Yeah,
As far as we know, yeah.
Yeah.
Behind Thunder Mountain.
So maybe because they always do throwbacks, maybe that vision will finally be realized. How awesome would that be?
I don't even know if anybody in Imagineering knows this story. I didn't even know this story until a friend of mine had been doing some research and shared it with me. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah.
Well, now's the time for them to hear this. Hey, Imagineers, wise up and paint that castle red and black, as you heard from this story.
That's amazing. And then you'd be honoring 3 different, I think they're all Disney legends, right? So you'd be honoring 3 different Disney legends that were part of the original decision making.
I love that. Was there a project that she shared with you guys that was far and beyond her favorite or most special, or that was closer to her heart than any others?
I don't think she would ever admit such a thing. And
like choosing a child who your favorite.
Yeah, right. I think the whole time she was there, they were just kind of working by the skin of their teeth, like just trying to go project to project. Walt wants us to do what? He wants us. That doesn't exist. How do we do it? Okay. And I think that was kind of the vibe the whole time. And they all respected him so deeply that they wanted to perform for him. And he was a brilliant leader in that he planted ideas, but didn't over micromanage. And so he'd be like, what would you, if I did this or that, how would you do this? If I wanted this, what would you say would be good for something like that? Oh, that's a great idea. Why don't you work on that? Have it on my desk, by whatever. And they're like, oh, I think I just gave myself a job.
Yep.
But he would get them thinking by posing them questions and planting some seeds, and then would just let them go figure it out how to solve it. But they never wanted to let him down. So there was this drive to figure it out, even if it did not exist. And that's how so many things got invented by Disney and by the Imagineers. They were just like, okay, we have to do something. And he had such a great way of putting these creative minds together who all had different skills that when combined, they created these brilliant genius ideas.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But I don't think she had a favorite project, so I'm sorry. And if she did, she wouldn't tell us. She wouldn't pick a favorite. I just know that she loved working with Mary Blair, so I imagine she really enjoyed Small World. And, I think they probably had a lot of fun. I think they probably had a lot of fun working on Pirates. In fact, I know they had a lot of fun working on Pirates. There were definitely a lot of office pranks that happened with limbs and eyeballs and things.
Ooh, do you have any stories that you can share on that?
No. No, I cannot.
That's too fun.
Absolutely not. But I just know that they had fun playing with things, and I know that some of them had very naughty senses of humor, and we'll just leave it there.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So with her work in the model shop, so right, you've got people that are designing whatever the things are, and then the model shop was the place that kind of brought those to life and kind of made them more tactile and stuff. Did she talk about the process? What were some of the tools they used? How did they go from paper to here's the thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know they would get the sketch or the design from the art director. Often that was, I think, John Hench or Herb Ryman, who would come up with the sketches, and then it was their job to come up with the model. So the model was the next step. And once the model was made, oftentimes there were many versions of a model. If Walt didn't like this or wanted to tweak that, they would rebuild it or fix it. And then they got to work on the real thing. And she eventually added a second title to her job description, and that was figure finisher. That was when the animatronics came along. And that's when she started working on figure finishing the animatronics. And what that means is taking a thing that's a robot and transforming it into a living human or bird or creature with hair, skin, eyes, feathers, you name it, all the things that make them real.
That's just incredible. Because I'm thinking, right, so like the designs, they're 2D. And I don't know, do they have like all angles of what this building is supposed to look like? Or do they have to kind of use their imagination and fill in the blanks? I'm sure it's
that one.
The latter. And then transforming that into, taking a very mechanical looking skeleton and being able to see the vision of, this is this pirate and this is its personality and this is what they would wear, and coming up with all that. The creative genius behind both of those things is similar but also very, very different. That's
absolutely
that's wild.
I know that I think she was responsible for creating the skin for Lincoln.
Wow.
And with him being the first human animatronic, the birds came before. They had never created human skin or something that looked like it, that could also move with the animatronic movements and look realistic. And I think the plaguing thing for her in all of the animatronic world was finding materials that would hold up over time. That was a story from the Tiki Room, in that being the first ever animatronics, she had to figure out what the material would be to go over the skeleton to stick all the feathers in that would stretch. And she says, I heard an interview once, and I actually did hear the audio of this, and she was like, Walt came to me and he said that he wanted these birds to breathe. And I said, breathe? Oy. Like, she says it with this like, what? And so she had to, and elastic, wasn't really, spandex didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And she went through every fabric and material imaginable before she landed on brushed wool, which was what Walt's favorite blue sweater was made out of. And I think she was having a conversation with him and he was moving his arms and she was watching how the fabric expanded and contracted. And because she was like, everything I tried, they would breathe just fine. And then it would contract. And she said, they looked like they had mange.
No.
And so that was the first dilemma, was figuring out how to do the birds so that would work. And the brushed wool would hold up for 40,000 performances before it wore out. And so then the next hurdle was finding skin for Lincoln that would hold out for the same amount of performances.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know actually what she ended up making it out of. Probably some toxic chemical that's banned now. But
yeah.
But she created the material for Lincoln's skin, and that was part of her figure finishing job. Yeah.
It's amazing that none of this existed. Like we take it for granted because we have the context of history, but knowing that she couldn't go out there and say, okay, well, what are other people doing with these breathing birds? Maybe I'll just kind of iterate off. No, she created the blueprint. And that's incredible. That's incredible. Do you think that she even understood the weight of that?
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
I think it was just a problem that she had to solve in that moment. And that, like I said, they had no idea the size and the vastness of what they were making. They were just trying to make their boss happy, and being asked to do tasks that had never been done before. And so they were like, okay, how am I going to get to Tuesday and keep my job? I think they were just going thing to thing. And there was no sense of magnitude or building history, none of that at all. And then later, even later, I don't think she ever even had that attitude. I think she cherished her time, and she cherished the experience of working there and the people she worked with, and cherished knowing and working for Walt. But there was always sort of a cavalier nature of like, oh, I'm going to speak at this conference and all the nerds are going to ask me. I don't know. I don't know why they're interested. Like, that was kind of her. And it makes me a little sad now, because we would have loved to come with her on these things and for her to take us along. But she was like, oh, don't make a fuss. It's punch and cookies. It's whatever, and that was one of her famous phrases, was just don't make a fuss. Oh, don't fuss. It's no. So she didn't want people fussing over her. And so she would go to these events. She would go to the Disneyana conventions and things before it became the D23.
D23, yeah.
And, people would want to get in line, to get her autograph, and she had no idea why. And she showed up and she did it, but she was just like, it's whatever.
She's
never understood her impact.
Yeah. And maybe she did understand, but she was very humble, and she would never brag about herself. And I think that's, maybe one of the reasons that she's fallen under people's radar just a
Yeah.
little because she was never one to like tout anything, and she was just happy to be there, you know.
I think it's amazing that she came from a generation of Imagineers that didn't have their own PR people, that were like pushing their career and social media to really expand their reach. I mean, it really wasn't until the late 80s
I was gonna
where
say, I feel like it was very recent. Like
Yeah,
in the span of Imagineering, it's been a very recent shift.
it's been a huge, I mean, especially with the way it is now, where they're kind of a rock star status of Imagineering. Even when I was working in the park in the mid 2000s, that wasn't the way that it was. Imagineering was seen as just this giant corporate beast that was like, not like corporate, but more of like a collection of human beings. There was nobody who was standing out individually. And I think nowadays, the majority of Imagineers are, maybe it's for business purposes and career purposes, but there is a lot more autonomy in that and a lot of more individualism in that. But to see this group together who was not seeking celebrity, but they were just seeking, like you said, to make their boss happy. I think that that's one thing that we see them as, oh, they were trailblazers, but that wasn't their full purpose. Their full purpose was much more simple than that, more basic, something that we can all understand, which I love. That makes them so much more human in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I feel like their heart was in it in a different way because, they're doing these things because they're genuinely excited about it. It's stuff that other people didn't know, but it wasn't just to prove we can do this. It was like it came from a genuine place that they really wanted to create whatever it was they were creating, whether that was Tiki Room Birds or, Abe or, whatever type of thing. And that's, whereas now sometimes I think creation happens just because it's like, let's one up each other sort of thing more so, or let's be the first or, that sort of thing. Whereas I don't ever, anytime that I've read or have talked to people about the kind of original Imagineers, I never have gotten that sense that it was like,
I don't think current Imagineers go in it for celebrity at all.
No.
I think they're all just very creative people who are inspired by and love the history of the idea of being able to work on this magic that people see every day. But it's just, because it's just so much bigger now. And like we talked about before, there's corporate processes that they have to go through. But I do think the individuals working in Imagineering have that same kind of spirit, but they have the history to look at and to go back on, like you were talking about. But I do hope, I get excited at the idea that maybe Imagineering will continue to come up with new things that don't exist yet. And that's thrilling,
They keep giving us teases of something. I was just reading something, I don't remember if it was this morning or yesterday, but the Coco attraction and how they were kind of, there's a bunch of new technology that's coming to bring the skeletons to life for that and stuff. So it's just like, what else? What, like, you think that you've seen it and they've done it all, and then suddenly there's some other thing that
it's true.
They do.
It makes you wonder, like, well, everything, it's like, now we can do anything now, but then the technology does continue to evolve, and it gets me excited to, to imagine that the Imagineers now are continuing to try and push those boundaries and come up with new, cool ways, to do things that we've never seen. And I do think that has continued to happen. There's a few effects. Like, I've not visited, I think it's in Tokyo where they have the Beauty and the Beast.
Oh,
right? Is that right?
Yeah.
I've not visited that park, but like, I've watched videos of the Beast transformation, and
it's stunning.
I don't know how they did it. It's like that kind of stuff that just blows your mind. And I do think that it's so cool that they're continuing to come up with these things where you're just like, what? Because that was what it was to see Lincoln back then. They would like, everybody was like, this is a human. It looked so real.
Yeah.
Because they had nothing else, to compare
No frame
to.
of reference.
No frame of reference.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, they are still pushing those boundaries. And I think it's really cool. There's just a different process to get there.
Oh, yeah.
I think one of those big moments for me was a buddy of mine and I did the Galactic Star Cruiser down in Walt Disney World. And at the end, the final thing that happens, there's a big battle between Rey and Kylo Ren. And that's where they unveil that actual working lightsaber in front of you. And when that happened, everybody lost their mind inside of the Star Cruiser, because again, it's like, we didn't even know that this was possible yet. Here you are doing it. And what I love about it is it takes, I mean, when you look at the history of the medium, it came from film. And where did film come from? It came from magicians, the people who were pushing film back in the early days of the medium. It was magicians who were seeing what could be done with this medium to make magic seem to be more realistic, and to see them bring that heritage and pushing that into the park and creating literal magic illusions that we can experience one after the other in line is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Just even this little Olaf that they have walking around now, this autonomous animatronic.
Yeah. How do they do it? So, it's like Daniel Joseph is in charge of illusions right now, I believe, in Imagineering, and he's talked about this. He brought the Hatbox Ghost back to Disneyland the proper way, and I think he might have also been in charge of that Beauty and the Beast illusion that happens. And so it's like, and I hear stories about him, where like he loved to just create haunted houses at Halloween, and he just created stuff for fun. And I think I love that energy, and I love that attitude of the Imagineers these days, and it makes me happy to know that they are still kind of playing in that way. And it's very exciting. They are still definitely pushing boundaries. It blows my mind.
No doubt.
Well, and the other thing that he did recently too, or helped with, was bring the ghost fish to life. That was just an idea on paper back from the OG Haunted Mansion days of what should it be? Should it be a walkthrough? Should it be Museum of Weird? All that stuff. And so he brought that back for, it was Rolly Crump's design originally, but that's now existing on 2 cruise ships that are sailing around the seas. And that's
so great.
Is incredible. I don't know if you've had a chance to go on the Treasure or the Destiny, but that's where the Haunted Mansion parlor is. And it's just, you can get right up to that effect and you're still like, I don't understand.
I've never been on a cruise, but if I were to go on a cruise, it would be a Disney cruise. I want to see those things.
Here's my little pitch. If you're going to do it, go on the Disney Treasure. That, to me, that cruise ship is like a love letter to park fans. Because they have the Haunted Mansion parlor. They also have the Jungle Cruise, like, themed bar. So that one is like, that one to me is like for us park fans.
I live vicariously through ordinary adventures going on cruises.
There's that too. Well, we had so much fun chatting with Haley about her legendary grandmother that we will be back next week with more stories. Well, you've heard us talk about our great experiences staying at the Howard Johnson in Anaheim. Well, we have partnered with them to offer our listeners some really great discounts. Weekly tiers can get 15% off their next stay. To take advantage of this discount, head on over to dlweekly.net and click on the Howard Johnson logo.
Looks like we're coming in for a landing, gang. But please stay listening until trivia comes to a stop. And then you can walk to the nearest exit. Thanks for listening to the 8th wonder of the world, DLWeekly.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we are going to find out the answers to tonight's questions and see how Teresa and Alex did. How are you feeling?
Well, I won. I'm confident on the last one.
I'm confident on none at this point.
This is what I like to call a learning opportunity. Alex.
Yeah,
learn all sorts of new facts right now.
This is keeping me humble about my park fandom.
All right, well, let's see how it goes. And, even as the trivia guy, I feel like, I'm always having to research these things and look stuff up and whatnot. Every time, like, we'll be in the park and somebody will recognize me and they're like, hey, I got a good piece of trivia for you. And they'll fire something at me. I'm like, wow, I know nothing. Thank you. That was a good one. So,
yes.
Humbling experiences come all the time. So let's get to them. Your first question from listener Donna S. Where did Bob Gurr get the name for the Doom Buggy? Both of you said that it was a Rolly Crump idea. The correct answer that I was looking for was Bob Gurr was personal friends with the guy that created the Dune Buggy.
Oh, come on.
And
you
that
kind of said it halfway,
name
Teresa.
was Bruce Myers.
Oh, that was my second guess, was Bruce Myers.
Dang. Well,
who's going to know that? That's impressive.
That was a good one.
That was really good.
And actually makes a heck of a lot of sense since, right, we know Bob Gurr from theme parks, but really Bob is a car guy.
But that's actually a great story.
That's a
cool little tidbit. I love that one.
Your second listener submitted question from listener Kim G. What is the name on the side of the red stagecoach as you're walking from Frontierland into Batuu, and why is it special?
Oh, we didn't even answer why it's special.
Well,
Shoot.
You did, and then you got stuck on the crate, and you started giving the right answer, and you walked yourself away from it because you were so stuck on the crate.
Was it Wilderness Expedition something?
Because you knew that it had to do with WED.
Oh, that's right.
And emblazoned on the door to the stagecoach is Wilderness Expeditions and Delivery Service.
Dang it. We went down the SEA tunnel a little bit too far.
But the Jason Chandler. But I mean, we got Wilderness Expedition, and then I didn't get the D.
So I award you.
You did a good job with
three-quarter credit for this question because you knew that it highlights WED, and you got 2/3 of the rest of it.
That was all Alex. So good job.
You were so there, and I was ready to just be like, okay, on to the next question, and then you walked yourself right out.
Next time, give me a little wink, give me a little nod, and be like, just shut your mouth, just shut your mouth.
Sometimes I'll start sign language spelling to Teresa, and she's like, I can't read what you're saying.
I don't know what that is.
Is that good or is that bad?
Wink, nod, pull your earlobe.
Yeah.
You want me to steal first?
Your third listener submitted question from listener Jocelyn. On what date did Disneyland start being open 365 days a year? And I wasn't holding you responsible for the exact date. I was willing to accept one of 2 years. You said 1983. The years that I was willing to accept were 1985 or 6.
We were so close.
With the date that was provided to me being February 6, 1985. And the newspaper articles that I was reading, and amazingly, there's all sorts of stuff out there where you can actually dive into old articles that have been scanned onto the internet and stuff. I found February 6, 1985. I found something from September of 85. I found something from January of 86. There's stuff all over the place from newspapers saying Disneyland's going to stay open 365 days a year. And I'm like, which one of you is the accurate one?
Interesting.
So that's why I said, okay, anything from 85 and 86, I'll take it. So
okay, well,
I'm trusting Jocelyn that their source is accurate, but I'm also just trusting that there's a whole bunch of sources out there too. So.
There's a lot of possibilities. That's easy to remember because that was the year that Marty McFly decided to make that fateful jump back to Hill Valley, 1985, the year I was born.
There you go.
He just really had to get back to 85 so that he could start going to Disneyland 365 days.
That's the only reason to get back to 85, right?
Right.
Man, we were so close. I mean, all things considered, we used some really good context clues, Teresa. Mm-hmm. Good for us.
Yes. We're going to give ourselves invisible credit for that.
Right, yes. I mean, you knew it was the 80s. You were just 2 years off.
Yeah. But, pretty good. Pretty good still.
And your fourth and final question tonight from listener Olivia. How can you tell the difference when talking to face characters between a princess who is born into royalty and a princess who is married into royalty? Teresa knowing it right away, and Alex agreeing with her that it is their gloves.
Thank you.
Princesses that have gloves on in their full dress attire were married into royalty, with the exception of Elsa, who has to have gloves on so she doesn't harm anyone.
Okay, so you get even more extra credit for knowing that extra piece, Teresa.
It was all part of the same pin trivia question. So.
That's amazing.
I presume you saw that on Instagram?
Is this a real thing too? Is this in real royalty? That's how you can tell the difference, or is that just Disney royalty?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know. The next time I'm talking to Camilla, I'll have to ask her.
Please do. Just drop that little tidbit.
Mm-hmm, yep.
And get back to us. Report back to us on what you
tomorrow
see
afternoon, we're having tea, and I'll just ask. Yes.
Man, that first round, that was my first and last round of trivia because my gosh.
It's brutal.
impressive questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have the best listeners ever. And speaking of those listeners, if you've got that perfect piece of trivia that's going to really stump them next week, and you'd like to hear that question asked on the air, please feel free to send that in to us at dlweekly.net/trivia.
We will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
And a special thank you to Sidel for editing the podcast, Andy Mack for all of the wonderful character transitions, and to James D. and Aaron C. for supporting at the Club 33 level.
All weekly tiers, prepare to be stepping out to your right.
Steady as she goes.